friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the next day in my 2025 holiday card series. I'm not sure which next day it is. I am just back from vacation and this is my first video back, so pardon me for not knowing where I am in the series. I did film ahead quite a bit. So today I'm actually not going to be making a card. I'm going to be doing a treat container or favor, and I am recreating a video that I made on my channel 11 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. I honestly didn't think it had been, but when I looked back at that video in preparation for this one, I was shocked to see how old it was. So it was definitely time for an update. And the project that we are making today are these little paper mugs, and you could fill them with so many different things. They're super easy to make. They look harder than they are, but they really aren't at all. And I think these would be so perfect for so many things. First of all, they would make great little gifts for people around the holidays that maybe you don't necessarily give a present to, but you still want to give a little bit of a treat. You could give them to like your mailman or the delivery person, your kids' teachers. You could make them for place settings. If you're hosting a holiday dinner, you can customize this to any time of the year. It doesn't have to be holiday. You could fill it with so many different things too. You could make up some like hot cocoa mixes and fill that up in there. You could fill it with candy, popcorn. You could fill it with like the paper raffia stuff and stick a gift card in it. You could fill it with small candies and stick a gift card in it. There's just so many different ways to customize this. I think it's a super cute little idea, and I really wanted to share an updated version of it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And when I first created this project, I actually made it using a 12 by 12 sheet of pattern paper because the measurements for this project were 8.5 by 4.5. or 8.25 by 4.5. So you needed a larger piece of paper, and I no longer buy 12 by 12 pattern paper. So I have modified today's version to work with 6 by 6 pattern paper. So we're going to be cutting down some of that today to create this. If you still have 12 by 12 pattern paper or something where you can get an 8.25 piece out of, you know, feel free. It's actually one less little, on this one now you're going to have like 2 areas where it comes together. Why can't I think of the word? I want to say seal, but that's not it. But anyway, you'll have 2 areas on this project where the paper has to come together, whereas if you use the 8.25 piece, you'll only have 1 seam. That's the word I'm trying to think of. So on this one, I actually have a seam right here, and I use that where the handle is, and then I also have a seam right here. It's hard to notice unless your pattern doesn't line up perfectly, and even so on this one it doesn't line up perfectly, and I still don't think it's like super noticeable, although I would say to keep in mind the pattern paper that you're using for this project and not use something where it really does need to meet up seamlessly. But like I said, this is stripes and I don't think it's that noticeable. It might be more noticeable if it was like a larger pattern, and so you would, you know, see that cut. You'd have to be a lot more careful about where you made your cuts on that project. But if you're using a pattern paper that has like a smaller, more scattered print, I think this is going to be really, really easy to do. So these are the supplies that we're going to be using today. We're going to be using 2 sheets of 6 by 6 pattern paper, or you can substitute that with 1 sheet of 12 by 12 pattern paper. Like I said, you'll need a scoreboard, a bone folder, a pair of scissors, and some strong adhesive. That's it. 5 supplies, and you can make this adorable little paper mug. And then, of course, just whatever you want to fill your paper mug with. So we're going to jump right in. So this is the pattern paper that I'm going to be using today. It's the brand new All the Sparkles pattern paper from Lawn Fawn. It has gold foil on half of the patterns, the ones with these cute little stars, and that's what I'm going to be using today. So I'm just going to flip through. I know I need 2 matching, so I'm going to see. I kind of wanted to use the white. I thought that that would be really pretty. So I just want to make sure that I still have 2 of these left. And if so, that is what I will use for today. Yes, we do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and tear those out. Like I said, if you're using the 12 by 12 sheet, you're only going to need 1 piece of pattern paper. Another thing to note is this pattern paper pad is only single-sided, so the inside of the mug is going to be just white. If you're using a double-sided piece of pattern paper, then you'll also have a pattern on the inside. So that's just up to you and what you want to do. In my original video 11 years ago, I did use double-sided pattern paper, so it had a cute little pattern on the inside. But today I thought we would go with this. So next I'm going to be trimming these pattern papers down. We're going to need 2 pieces that measure 4 1/4 by 4 1/2. And then 1 piece that measures 1 inch by 4 1/2. So I'm going to grab a paper trimmer. I guess technically you probably need a paper trimmer in your supplies as well, although you could probably cut these down by hand, but I'm going to be using a paper trimmer because I just like the precision cuts that it makes. So I am going to measure 4 1/4 inches. I'm just using the little lines right up at the top here, and I'll make my first cut. And then I'm going to save this because I need 1 of those for the handle. And then I'm going to turn it and measure 4 1/2. Just making sure that's lined up, and I'll make another cut. I'll just set that aside. Move that one out of the way, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure 4 1/4, make my first cut, and then 4 1/2. And make my second cut. So then I need to take one of the larger pieces, and this one is going to need to measure 4 1/2 by 1 inch. So I'm just going to line that up with the 1 inch mark. And then I'll make my final cut. So these are the pieces that I'm going to need. Right here, these 3. And these scraps I can just put back in my pattern paper pad and use those for another project. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is take these 2 pattern papers, and I need to score the bottoms at 1 1/2 inches. And I am doing that on the end that is the 4 1/2. So you do need to determine there's only a 1/4 inch difference. I know that this is 4 1/4 and this is 4 1/2. But if you need to make a little mark when you're trimming your paper down which end is up, go ahead and do that. But I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to place that in my scoreboard, and I am going to score at 1 1/2 inches. So we'll just find the 1 1/2 mark, which is right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and score that really well. Then I'm going to turn the paper, and I am going to score at every inch. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is going to leave just a 1/4 inch on the very edge of that paper. So we're going to do the same thing with our second sheet. We're going to turn it and score the bottom at 1 1/2. And then we'll turn the paper and score at every inch. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And all I'm going to do now is reinforce those score lines. So I'm going to fold the paper on the score lines and I'm going to burnish those folds. And I'm going to fold the paper so that the ridges are on the front of the pattern paper. So I'm not folding the inside back, I'm folding the front back, if that makes sense. So that the paper will form this shape, you know, with the ridges being pointed out on the pattern paper. So go ahead and burnish that down. We'll go to the next one. And the final one, which is a little bit tricky because there's not a whole lot there, just that 1/4 of an inch. But we are going to burnish that one down as well. Okay, and then we're just going to repeat for the second paper, burnishing down all of those folds so that they are nice and crisp. And that is just going to allow the mug to come together with a nice shape to it. So we got 2 more. There's that one. And then just the little end piece. And there we go. So we've got 2 papers and both of them have that 1/4 inch mark on the same side, the right side for me. It doesn't matter really if you do it to the left or the right. I just find it easier to score at every inch rather than doing a 1/4 inch and then 2 1/4, 3 1/4, 4 1/4, and so on. So I leave my little tab on the right, but it doesn't really matter in the end which one you do. All right, so the next thing to do is to trim off the bottom little edge of the tab. So you're just going to find that score line and go right up to that bottom horizontal score line and trim that piece off. We don't need that. That would get in the way. So we're just going to get rid of it. And if you can't find your score line, just bend the paper again until it shows up. And then just trim that off. Okay. Then we're going to bring in our strong adhesive. I'm going to use the, actually, you know what? I think I might use the 1/4 inch because it's going to fit perfectly, score tape, but any kind of strong adhesive. I don't recommend liquid adhesive for this project because it'll just be messy and it needs drying time. Something like this is going to be perfect. So I'm just going to tear off what I don't need. We're going to line that little tab piece with the tape. Oop. Make sure it's past the score line so we don't have any sticky residue that will be on the exposed part of our mug. And then I'm going to line the front and back of the bottom of only one of these papers. You need 1/2 to be without adhesive and 1/2 to be with adhesive. So all I'm going to do is I am going to run this tape across, flip it over, and run the tape across. Now we're going to go back to our scissors and we're going to cut up on all of the score lines until we hit that horizontal bottom line. So right through the tape. You can also do this step first and then add your tape, but I just find it a lot easier to add the tape in one go and then make your cuts rather than like individually tearing off for each little flap. So there we go. There's the one with the tape. We're going to repeat that process for the one without the tape. Just right up to that score line, not beyond. So once again, if you can't see it, just bend your paper a little bit so that it shows. I think this gold foiling is going to look so pretty on this mug because it just really catches the light beautifully. All right, next step is we are going to remove one of these tabs. Toss that paper, and we're going to connect these two pieces. So again, this is if you're using the 6x6 pattern paper. If you were using the 12x12 and you cut your piece down to 8 1/4 to begin with by 4 1/2, then you don't need to attach this piece. But this is what I came up with to modify this for the supplies that I have. And I think a lot of people do use 6x6 pattern paper, so I just wanted to make a project that anybody could do. And it's not that much different, you know. Like I said, you just have one extra seam, but you're barely going to be able to see that at all, especially using a print with a small scattered design like this. I think it really hides that. So I can see that I'm not exactly perfect right there, so I'm just going to take my scissors and just do a tiny little trim there. Again, nobody will ever see that, and now it's lined up perfectly. Now we need to remove the tape from this second flap here, just the backer paper, obviously not the tape itself. And we're going to connect these two pieces. So however you want to do it, just make sure that you're lining everything up nice and straight. And we are going to connect that so that now we have got that mug shape. Now we're going to flip it over to the bottom. So we've got all of these little flaps sticking up. And we are going to start with an untaped piece, because we want the inside of our mug not to have any adhesive down at the bottom. Doesn't matter, just pick one. Any of these flaps will do. And then you're going to take the piece that is directly opposite that has tape, and you'll remove the backing paper from the bottom. Before you push these down, you want to make sure that they meet in the middle, and you don't want to pull. You want to just press them gently together so that the mug keeps its shape. And once you've got those lined up, just press them together, just like that. Can you see that? Then we're going to remove the top backing paper, and then you'll take another one. You're going to start with an untaped piece and then remove the backing paper from the taped piece that is directly across from it. Line them up before you press down gently so that the mug retains its shape, and then press them down together. And then you'll remove the top backing piece and repeat that process. You're going to take an untaped piece, go with the taped flap that is across from it, remove the backing paper, gently line them up together so that they're straight, and press them down into place. Then remove the backing from the front. And this time we're going to do it different because we want the bottom of our mug also not to be sticky. So this time we're going to start with a taped piece, and we're going to remove the backer from both the front and the back. And then we're going to line these up, taped one first, gently so that it's nice and straight, and press that into place. So now you've got the perfect little mug shape. You can flip that over and press everything firmly down with your hand. And I'd be willing to bet that you probably can't even tell where the seals are on camera. You have to look really close. There's one right here and one right here. So next we have to attach the handle. So we're going to take our handle piece, and we need to grab our tape again. And you're going to want to put a piece of adhesive at the very top of the front of the handle, and then at the very bottom of the back of the handle. That's going to give us that nice little shape. So we're going to take off the tape from the front at the top, And you can stick it on anywhere, but I like to find the seam. I just think it makes it look a little bit more invisible. So because we have two seams on this one, I'm just gonna pick one. And we're gonna line that up on the mug a little bit down. I would say maybe like a 1/2 inch down on that mug. And we're gonna press that down into place. Really press that down into place so that that handle will stay on well. Then we're going to remove the backer piece from the bottom back of the handle. Fold that down. Bring it to the very bottom edge of the mug. Line it up. And then give that a good press. And if you need to put your hand inside to really press that down, go ahead and do that so it doesn't pop back up. And there you have the little handle. You can bend it a little bit to get it into the shape that you want. But isn't that so cute? I think these are so fun. I had so much fun making it originally, but I think it's a fun project to revisit. Even after all this time, I think it's super cute. So that's the whole idea, basically. All that's left to do is fill it. And like I said, there are so many things that you can fill this with. I am going to fill it with some little chocolate hearts. I actually picked these up on our trip to Paris last fall. These are actually expired. Does anybody else do this? Like, I buy snacks. I actually bought 2 of these and I ate the first one, but then I hoarded the second one until it was expired. But that's okay. We're going to use it for today. They probably still taste good. They were in this nice sealed bag. Super cute little chocolate hearts, and they're like crispy in the middle. So I'm going to take a little bag. You can use like a little treat bag like this. You can also use like a little gauzy bag like this. I have lots of these because I use them for my Operation Christmas Child baskets. Actually, I think that might like look really cute with the gold foil. Maybe we'll stick them in there for today. So I'm just going to pour these little chocolate hearts in there. Let's see. Oop. I think we can get a few more. By the way, I am on day 137 of French in my Duolingo. I love French. I just think it's such a beautiful language. And actually, I was learning it for several months before we went to Paris last year. And then I lost my streak while we were in Paris because I was too busy enjoying Paris to keep up with my Duolingo. So I've actually been learning French for like a 1.5 years now. I just love languages. I also speak a little bit of Spanish and obviously German since my husband's from Germany. Isn't that cute? Look how adorable that looks. I love that. And it almost looks like the cocoa is kind of sticking up. Like you could also fill it with marshmallows. Like I said, you could like make your own cocoa mix, or you could like open some packets and just pour it in there and kind of cheat a little bit and top it with marshmallows or whatever. But it almost looks like the, you know, the coffee or the hot chocolate or whatever is just like all the way up to the top. So, so cute. Okay, we're going to finish this off with a little tag. So give me a second. Okay, so I've got the makings of a little tag here. I took the tiny tags from Lawn Fawn. I used this one because it kind of reminded me of the paper little tag on a tea bag. I thought that would be perfect. I think this would also be fun to fill with like loose leaf tea if you were doing like more of a tea theme. And then I stamped, colored, and die cut this little guy here from the Sweet Christmas Mice. So we've got that, and the paper that I used was the same, all the sparkles pattern paper. I just used the red stripe. I thought that would complement the white really nicely and go well with our little cake. And then on the back, I just stamped a very simple Happy Holidays, and for that one I actually used the Frosty Family add-on because I just liked that phrase, and I left enough room to write a name there. But you could also use like a to and from or stamp anything on the back that you want. So I am going to go ahead and attach that with a little bit of Lawn Fawn twine. I'm using the Christmas red, green, and white. And I'm just going to keep it simple since we've been using this score tape the whole time. I'm just going to add a little piece to the back of our mouse. 2 little pieces, I guess. And then we'll peel off those backers. There we go. And there. And then we will position our little mouse on this little tag. I think these little tags would be also great projects for those of you who like to color a whole bunch of images at once and then die cut them and have them on hand. And if you ever have leftovers from a card, you could make these sweet little tags that work great for this, but also just for gifts or anything like that in general. So we'll take some twine here. I'm just going to cut off a length of that and we'll thread that through our little tag. And I'm going to knot that just to keep it in place. You don't have to, but it'll just make sure that it stays right there. And then I'm simply going to tie this around the top of my treat container. Just get those little strings out of the way. And then I'm going to knot that in the back. But I'm going to bring it to the front to tie so that the bow will be in the front. I think that will look cute. So I'll just knot that one more time. And then we'll just do a little bow. Just like that. And then we can adjust the ends, make those loops a little bit smaller and cuter. There we go. So that is my project for today. I know it's not a card, but I do think it is a fun gift idea that works great for the holidays or any season. I mean, you could also do this for baby showers, bridal showers, anything like that. Thanksgiving, Easter, whatever you wanted to do, just in any day, birthday party. I think it works great for any time of the year, but especially around the holiday season when it's a little bit more cozy. I mean, honestly, you could also fill it with like pumpkin spice mix. I mean, so many different things, or gift cards to Starbucks, put some coffee beans down in there and then stick your gift card in there, or chocolate covered coffee beans would be even better. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this project. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I feel like I've been away for so long, so I'm really eager to chat with you down in the comments. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.